Yes, it's recording. Okay. So when it comes to services, usually it's outsourcing. So let's see together the concepts that we have. So we will talk about what is outsourcing, what are the advantages and disadvantages. Also, how will you decide which functions to outsource? And some of the best practice in this field. And I find that when I start talking about procurement and outsourcing, many of my students, they can relate it to their actual work. So, um, um, so you are transferring some of the functions and processes or operations of the business, in our case, of the project, to someone else. What's the most common example of this? The first thing that comes to your mind, other than subcontractors. Come on, guys, have some coffee. Call centers.
What was the question?
What is a very common example for outsourcing that almost all of us had experience with?
Call centers.
Yes, call centers. It was. Have you watched Slumdog Millionaire? So it's one of the most common outsourced um, business functions, and why is that? Why so many businesses and organizations decided to outsource customer service or their call center?
I think one of the reasons will be the cost.
Yes, to lower
Number
the
two,
cost.
yeah, it will be 24/7 operations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so extended times. They want to extend their offering. Also, think of this. Is it a core function or a support function?
It's a support function, and I don't think it needs a deep knowledge or a deep technical knowledge to provide this service.
No, it depends. It depends on the business and the field itself. Sometimes, because I worked in a consulting company, and some of our projects were to establish call centers. So there are so many criteria. That's why we studied case by case. For example, if you are dealing with sensitive data, for example, you might not decide to outsource this function. If it is highly technical, for example, like troubleshooting or something like this, you might not outsource it, or you outsource it to call centers specialized in the industry. Uh, Also, part of your project work might be core to the project and might be not so core to the project. That's why we start with a core team. For example, when you think of the human resources of your project, who are the essential people? What are the essential skills that I need in my core team? And any other skills, do we have access to this skill in-house? If not, I will outsource it. So that's why it's part of what we call buy or rent, or buy or lease, or in-house or outsourcing. So when you are working on the procurement management plan for your project, you think about all these criteria and factor, and you decide, and of course include the team, and then you decide for these tasks we will outsource it, for these tasks we will do it in-house. For example, I'm working now with a team trying to help a municipality here to have like seasonal fair for the residents. So this event, it's a huge event, and there are so many details. Think, for example, security. Are you going to hire your own people, or you will outsource it to a specialized security company? They decided, no, we will outsource it. For example, they might have tents. So shall we buy the tents, use it for the fair for a couple of days, and then store it, and maybe use it in so, in 6 months or so? No, they decided they will rent it. So these are some of the decisions as a project manager you might think of. And you try to get the best service, of course, with not the cheapest prices. I don't like to use the word cheapest prices, but you get value for money. You get value for money. So many companies now, they outsource their work. Of course, almost all the IT companies, even Toyota, Chrysler, they outsource lots of their functions. And some companies are specialized in specific areas or industries. So sometimes you will be on the other side. You will not be outsourcing to, but you will get the outsourced work. You know what I mean? So here is an example from your book. To manufacture a reclining chair, what are the functions that could be dealt here or included in this project? We need some tools and dies, jigs and fixtures for the production line. I worked in production, so to craft this die or these tools, as a company, as a manufacturer, I don't have access to this. I don't have the technology. So what we do, we hire specialized companies and we share our design with them, and they based on the design and the requirements, they manufacture these dies and fixtures and jigs and these tools. Again, this is outsourced. Marketing firms, I might have a marketing department, but again, the capacity of the marketing department is not big. So the marketing department will act in this case as a coordinator with a specialized company that can provide me with a marketing plan, campaigns. They will negotiate with the advertising slots or banners, the company that owns these locations, for example. Also for legal, I might have a legal department, but again, the capacity of the legal department will not allow me to legal proof. We call it legalized or legaled all the documents that we have, or crafted the best contracts. You can get some templates, so some some organizations, for example, they will create templates and you buy a suite of documents, templates for contracts, templates for proposals, templates for so many functions. But again, you need someone specialized. For example, also in the legal field, some companies will be specialized in a specific industry. So, for example, YouTubers and those influencers, that's a field that, or a profession, or an industry. Actually, it's an industry that's emerged lately. It's not in the market for many years. So some legal firms started to specialize in this area. So they are aware of the copyright laws and regulations. They have experience in crafting contracts between the influencer or the YouTuber and the company, the advertiser. For example, mergers and acquisitions. Again, there are some companies specialized in this field. Even the design or the invention. There is a company, and actually they had a program, they had many years ago, a program in the States, a TV show. So just lay people like you and me have some crazy idea, and they go to this company inventor, and they tell them, okay, this is the concept of the product I have in mind. Can you help me design it? One of the nice products, one lady, she said, I am invited to so many potlucks, and my go-to dish that I do for all these potlucks is devil eggs. So these eggs that's, okay, I'm not a very good cook. I'm not going to give you the recipe now, but she needs a container that can hold these processed eggs, and she has tens of these half eggs. So they designed this special container, and of course there's some sort of agreement because she had the concept, but they did the design. They will maybe outsource the manufacturing to another company, and they will outsource the marketing to another company. So if you think of life around you, you will find so much examples of this. Even the function of project management itself. So many real estate development companies, they don't have, they might have project management offices, but this project management office does not manage the project itself. They manage the company who will do the project management. So this is a very common example. If I want to have an IT, a website, for example, I will go to a company for this. So it might look nice, to outsource the work, but you have to take the decision carefully. You have to consider so many criteria, and you have to weigh the advantages and disadvantages. So the advantages is you can get some cost reduction because these companies, they have the resources, and if you try to do it yourself, it might cost you more. Of course, because they have the expertise and the knowledge and the skills, they can help you accomplish or complete the project faster or on time. Again, high level of expertise. Again, flexibility, because you will negotiate what they will do. You will coordinate, but you are not doing the work yourself. However, sometimes the coordination itself start to become cumbersome. You might lose some of the control over the operations, over the tasks, over the team, because they don't work for you, for example. There might be some conflicts. We want to do it this way. They want to do it the other way. I want them to work from my premises. And they say, okay, we will come only 2 days of the 5 days. Also, security issues. And under security issues, we have so many examples. For example, physical security. Some people entering your premises. Information security. They might have access to sensitive information. Even if they sign NDAs and they sign the contracts, still there is a risk of some information security breaches. Sometimes we have some office politics, you know, some drama of managing subcontractors. Those of you, Engineer Ashraf, he said subcontractors, and how sometimes managing subcontractors might be very annoying. So anyone can share some stories about their experience dealing with outsourcing? Have you experienced drama with subcontractors? Well, I had my share. I had my share as the buyer, and also I had my share as the seller. Because you are outsourcing certain functions, you might not know exactly what entails to complete these tasks. So you might, as a buyer, you might estimate the effort wrongly. And when you are doing for your project risk analysis, usually there are a bunch of risks that you can identify coming from the procurement and the outsourcing. So we have so many documents in procurement. So for example, we have request for information. We have request for quotation and request for proposal. So what are the differences between these requests?
Sorry, again, between request of proposal and request of quotation?
And request of information.
Request of information and the difference between request of information and?
All of these requests. So we have, for example, request for quotation or for quote, request for proposal, and request for information.
Okay. Request for quotation, that's normally that we are asking for to getting the price and the payment terms, the conditions of the sales. That if we wish to have some purchasing from for a material, mainly for the material. Request for quotation that contains the prices, the payment terms, the delivery time, like all of the conditions. Request for information, mainly it will be for some extra information or more information regarding the fixing, the details, how we are going to fix this item in conjunction and in relating to the other items. So that's going deeply in technical details about the product, either the illustration or the specs. The other one, what is the third one? The request of
proposal.
Proposal might be to give a full proposal how we are going to solve this item, how we are going to supply, how we are going to lift in the site, how we are going to install. I think so.
Yeah, perfect. Request for quotation, as you said, we are trying to buy an item. Usually it's a physical item, a product. And I know the specifications of this product. I might have even all the details of this product. And all I'm searching for is price and maybe delivery terms. So, and usually we use it if I will approach different suppliers, but all these suppliers will provide me with the same item. That's why I need a quote. I just need to know your price. And I will approach these suppliers. So for example, if I'm buying white paper, I know the size, it's A4. I know this thickness. I know, I even want a specific brand, for example. And I have so many suppliers for stationery and office supplies. So I will contact them and I will say, okay, these are the specification of the product I'm buying. Give me a quotation. Request for information. Usually when I'm searching for a solution, but I don't know everything about what I'm buying. So I will share with the supplier or suppliers the situation that I'm trying to solve, and I will ask for information. So this information could include the company capacity, the company expertise, some details about previous projects, for example, they did, or some information about the products that they carry. So I'm just asking some information. On the other hand, request for proposal, I'm trying to find a solution. And you said it, I want them to help me solve this issue. So you are searching for a solution, and usually we use it for services. And in the request for proposal, actually it's an art, preparing a request for proposal. Because I will tell the suppliers exactly what I am searching for, what is the problem I'm trying to solve, and what are the items that I want to see in their proposal. Sometimes we have a technical proposal and financial proposal. Technical proposal might include the solution they are providing, the services they are providing, the support they will give to the buyer. The financial proposal might include how many hours we will work on this solution. Of course, in the technical, it might include the team they are proposing, their resumes or their CVs, their expertise. We might even ask for a sample. So if it is, for example, translation, we might give them a test, and we see the quality of that test. or we can see examples of websites, for example, they did. So that's why creating the request for proposal is not that easy. It has a degree of details because you are sending the same request for proposal for so many for different suppliers. So we explain what we are needing, what's the solution, what's the problem. We include a scope of this outsourcing, the deliverables that I'm expecting. If there are any specifications, any requirements, features. I also might ask for how we will divide the responsibilities, who will do what, the project schedule, of course, the costs, payment schedule, also the type of contract. And we will talk about type of contracts because each type of contract has its own risks. I might ask for detailed CVs of the consultants or the people who will work with this, and all the people, even the support. And also, I will share with them the evaluation criteria because this is part of the transparency. So each supplier or vendor or subcontractor will receive the same request for proposal. And these are the criteria that we will evaluate all the proposals, and we will end up selecting one of the suppliers. So, for example, this is a weighted matrix for evaluation. So I will set my criteria. So contractor qualifications, technical skills, understanding of the contract and the conditions, capability, for example, of solving the issue, the financial strengths. For example, maybe if you will work with a new business, you might get a price advantage. But again, the company is not as stable as another company that has been in the market for many years. So I will check the financial strengths. Of course, understanding of the specifications and the proposal itself, the solution they are proposing, their reputation, of course, maybe the price, the terms and conditions. So some company will ask for the payment, for example, 1 month from issuing the invoice. Another company will ask for, will give me 3 months to pay the invoice. And we assign weights for these criteria. And why we do this? Why we assign weights for these criteria?
To make it easier to choose which contractor will hire.
We will apply the weights for all of them. Weights for the items included in the evaluation, not a score. Are these evaluation criteria all of the same importance?
It will show us which one is the priority for us.
Yes. Yes.
The most important factor for us.
Some factors might be more important than other factors. For example, here they give weight 5 to innovativeness and originality of proposal. But for the price, it's giving 20, because the price for me is much more important than innovative approach. So when I start giving scores, I'll give scores for proposal 1. For example, let's say 1 to 10. Contract qualification, 10. So no, let's use another number, 8. Proposal 1, 8. With the weight of this item, 10. So the total, the final score for contractor qualification will be 80. Proposal 3 got 5 times 10, 50. So it means that proposal 1 is better than proposal 3 in this area. And we do the same for all the criteria until I have a final score. The final score will be not the addition, the multiplication of the weight of the criteria and the score give to specific to each vendor.
And how we can decide the scope, yani how we can give this 8 or 5 to each?
Oh, yeah. You might have some experts from the procurement department or from the technical department that or someone has a expertise in this technical area. And you will compare these proposals and you will see, okay, this contractor, for example, has 3 engineers with PMP. This contractor has only 1 engineer with PMP, for example. This contractor has 2 senior engineers, each one of them 20 plus years of experience. Another one might not have this many years of experience. So this is trying to turn the qualitative into quantitative. We might set some criteria. For example, for the contractor qualifications, I have worked in with a company, and they wanted all the team to acquire certain certifications, to have a certain level of education. For those who will work in the coordination, they have to be PMP, for example. So we set the minimum. So anyone above a little bit, I might increase the score for them. But we set even within these factors or criteria, I might have sub criteria. And you think of all the factors that will help you to decide. Some, of course, factors might have some sort of subjectivity. That's why you need someone expert in this area. And believe it or not, sometimes we hire, so we outsource the evaluation of the outsourcing to consultants, for example, that can help the team decide. Or they can come and they can facilitate the discussion. So one of the tools that I use, I will give each one of the team members, for example, red dots, these tiny stickers. And I will ask them based on their information, their expertise, after reading the proposal, to use their red dots. They have the the freedom to use all of their red dots for one contractor, or this contractor I will give it 3 dots, this contractor I will give it 2 dots, this contractor I will give it 1 dot, this contractor I'm not going to give it any dots. And we see visually, and we have this discussion. So that's why usually there is a committee involved in this evaluation. And in the committee, you might have representative from the procurement department, from the legal department, from the technical department or the functional area, that they have the knowledge and expertise in this area. So they can help you decide on this. Any question? So there are, of course, some best practices, because we've been doing this for many years. So you need to define the requirements and the procedures very well. So that's why sometimes we consider procurement is a sub-project in the main project, because it has so many criteria and so many inputs and so many elements that's, you know, big. When I was explaining, we will have lots of meetings, lots of discussions. So again, you need to make the team comfortable in such workshops. Sometimes we have a workshop and we have the team deciding and discussing these elements. And if we have also a committee, so we include the committee. Also, to consider conflict management. If we have a conflict related to the technical aspects, what is the process? What is the procedure that we will follow? If we have a conflict regarding the financial aspect, if we have a conflict regarding the acceptance and approval criteria. So you need to think of this, and this could be part of the request for proposal as well. Also, you need to set a schedule. So you will have some frequent reviews. When we will review what was done after the delivery or at a certain milestones, who will do it, how we will do it, will we have like a template, a checklist that we will go through this checklist with the vendor or not. Also the location. Are they going to work remotely? Are they going to work on their offices and we have frequent meetings? Or I will have them to work from my location, for example. Or I have headquarters, but the project itself in a different site. Are we going to build an office or dedicate an office for them in that site? So again, some discussions. For example, when I have work with any governmental agency, they insist that we work from their location. They might also give us a laptop to work on, and I'm not allowed to take that laptop with me, for example, because of information security. When we discuss the contracts later, we can see that we have different types of contracts. So again, we choose the contract type that will guarantee we have the best relationship possible with the contractor. Also, especially for services, you need to think of this as a partnership. So you need to have some practices to foster the relationship with the vendor, because you might use them again in future projects. So I will leave you to read this on your own, but again, back in the day, we had approach, full of distrust or mistrust. I have a different agenda than the vendor. We are not working in partnership, and there are lots of discussion around building this partnership with the suppliers and the vendor. Of course, it depends on the politics and the culture of both parties, but it's recommended to approach this with an intention for creating partnership and long-term relationship, not just hit and run, as we say. So quickly, let's talk about this. How can I communicate with the vendors or with the entity that I outsource a certain function to? The first one emphasizes the culture differences. And even if we are in the same country, each company has its own culture. How formal or informal we deal with each other. Open, transparent communication. There might be some differences. So it's I don't want to say this, but what comes to my mind is it's a marriage relationship, and how early in the marriage you need to understand the other party. So it's the same here. We need to understand what's the organizational culture in this company compared to the organizational culture in my company. So it's very important. Also, part of the communication is related to the words we say. So we need to be careful in crafting what we say and what we write, because again, using the wrong words might lead to misunderstanding, and this will put some turbulence in the relationships. Also, to be specific when you are talking about specifications, requirements, expectations. The more you explain what you want, the more the other party will understand your requirements, and they will be able to fulfill these requirements. Goes with the requirements hand in hand, the deadlines, when I need this to be done. And sometimes we have two types of deadlines. Deadline for a draft, for example. So I have the opportunity to go through the draft, so we can fix anything, we can modify anything, and we don't wait until the final deadline, and we discover that I was not clear in one of the requirements, or I did not share certain information or certain documents. So you try to manage this relationship as smooth as possible using the tools that you have, and of course using your interpersonal skills as well. Like the project, we might create a charter for this function specifically. That's why I told you sometimes we deal with the procurement as a project within the project. And we create a procurement management plan that includes the risks associated with the procurement. For example, if I have new personnel in my premises, how this will affect the health and safety. Do I need to give them some training? Do I need to give them special gears? Do I need to give them specific access to certain areas or certain information or certain platforms? So again, we create a charter for this partnership. Especially when you are dealing with services, because if you are working on products, something that has tangible nature, sometimes it's easier than dealing with intangible. So for example, in consulting, I will go, you will share the problem with me, I will try to find a solution. So we try to explain the services, what are my expectations. Of course, sometimes we survey, we ask for feedback. So maybe sometimes we use certain tools to understand. In many cases, these evaluations happen at the end. In some cases, the buyer decides to have these frequent reviews and frequent evaluations. So I don't leave the relationship deteriorate. And, you know, at the end, I'm shocked because we have never took the pulse or tested the water of what's going on. So especially for long-term contracts. So maybe I will decide every month, for example, I will send a short survey for my team and for the contractor or the subcontractor, and I will ask them some questions. So let's see, in the communications, we got one very low. So instead of waiting all the way until the end of the project to address this, no, I will address it now. I will have the team, and I will have the team from the contractor, and I will say, we have some communication difficulties. We might create a service level agreement. So it means that when I send you an email, you reply, for example, within 72 hours. Or 48 hours or 24 hours or something like this. We might have some meetings, quick review meetings to address any problems in the work, so we don't wait. What else? Cooperation. Maybe the team has some grievances about the cooperation. No, they are not cooperating with us. They are not giving us the information that we want, or something like this. And this goes both ways. So we still have a few minutes. So thinking or approaching this with the mentality of I'm creating a partnership, a long-term partnership, will lead to much smoother relationship. So this might reduce some of the costs and some of the overheads. Of course, more efficient utilization of the resources. Right now, my team is not overloaded with politics, with communication inefficiencies, and all of this. So I'm using my team in an efficient way. Improved communication, also innovation, you know, finding novel ways to solve the problem. And of course, this will improve the performance in general. I'm not going to talk much about the negotiation. Actually, we need a whole course on negotiation. But there are some key points to keep in mind. Focus on the problem or the issue. Don't focus on the people. You are not dealing with difficult people. You are dealing with difficult situation. I know it's easier said than done, but if you approach this with the intention that we are dealing with a difficult situation, let's find how we can compromise and reach a satisfactory solution. Also, focus on the interest, not the positions. Positions is not here, they don't mean job titles. They mean if you approve, if you agree, if you have certain idea that you want to impose, focus on the interests of the business. What's the best course that will get the benefit for my company? Maybe I want to do it this way, but the subcontractor has another suggestion. So, okay, tell me how your suggestion will help me get what I want. Think of this relationship as win-win situation. If it is win-lose, of course, this is not fair. This is not ethical. And you might be actually losing, not winning. Because maybe the contractor will find sneaky ways to get some gains. So maybe we can think of different options. So we transform the situation into win-win. I like what it said, when possible, because remember when we're doing this evaluation, for example, we had so many criteria that are subjective. So we try to have sub-criteria to help me objectify this element, for example. So how maybe education or degrees or number of years of experience in total, and the number of years in of experience in this specific or similar project. Why I include this? To try to be objective as much as I can. So any question? Any questions so far? Okay, so let's have a 10 minutes break, and we will come back at 11:40. Hello, welcome back. So let's continue what we are talking about. We are still talking about outsourcing, and you will find that outsourcing and procurement in general, it's not only about your technical skills and your managerial skills, but also about your interpersonal skills. I don't know if I shared this with you, but I have a free course on Udemy, actually, on influencing skills for project managers. And I use lots and lots of examples from the project management environment and how you can influence your stakeholders. Because again, your vendors, your suppliers are part of your stakeholders, and you have to identify them. Like last time when we talked about stakeholder management, you have to identify them and you have to understand them and do also some analysis for their contribution or impact on your project. So sometimes we deal with difficult people. I don't want to say difficult people, but maybe unreasonable people. And here is a nice way, use jujitsu. They don't mean to hit them, but to use some of the strategies of the martial arts. So, so you hold on pushing back or punching back quickly. Ask questions and ask more questions, and making statements sometimes aggravate the situation, but asking questions, especially open-ended questions that will require the other party to elaborate more, not just yes or no, or approve or disapprove. Also, we need some positive criticism. So share your idea and ask them what they see based on your experience. What do you think if we do X, Y, Z? Okay, if this is the only way, is this the only way that we can solve this? Maybe we can have another option. Also, sometimes you use silence strategically, or like we say now, ghosting. But again, you have to evaluate the situation and think of, okay, if how the other party will interpret my silence. Also, when you approach a situation, think of different scenarios. And don't ever think that you can pressurize the other party into any decision. You can have other options. And because negotiation is art, so you think of other options that whenever, whatever the option they will choose, you are okay with it. So you give different options, but you are okay with any of these options. So again, it might need a lot of interpersonal skills, and also remember that you have a customer relationship, you know, so because at the end of the day, you are a buyer, you are their customer, but also they have a relationship with you, and you need to manage the customer relationships. When we deal with customer relationships, actually real customer, our customer, we try to assess customer satisfaction through surveys, through informal communication, through structured interview or unstructured interview. So we can see where we are. So here we have two or different words that we can describe performance. Perceived performance. So I'm doing something for the customer and they perceive it in a certain way. And at the same time, they have expected. So for example, if I go to a car dealership, I expect the seller to be nicely dressed, well-groomed, and friendly. So these are my expectations. If I go and I see the customer service is not wearing a suit, for example, and my expectation they are wearing a suit. They were serious more than I was expecting. So again, there is a deviation or variance between the perceived performance and the expected performance. So again, we try to assess how satisfied my customer is. And you can apply the same for all stakeholders, even your team members, even your senior management. What's their perceived performance? Maybe in relation to our communication or the updates that I send to my senior, and what's their expected performance, and you assess if there is a deviation between these. So when you are managing customer expectations, try to avoid the temptation to oversell. That's why we have this common saying or popular saying, under promise, over deliver. Don't oversell, don't exaggerate, don't use the words that has some exaggeration. Very, very, very good. You know, you try to lower the customer expectations, but not in the wrong way. You know, it's not saying that your product or your project is bad. I prefer to be realistic. You know, this is our promise. And also you prepare between you and your team something that you will add a little bit. I worked with
Dr. Hanan,
Yes.
sometimes they call it under promise, over deliver.
Oh yeah, yeah. I worked with a consultant, and he was from Lebanon, and he told me that his grandfather was a merchant, and he had something that he used to do. When a customer comes and they finish the sale and he gets the price that they negotiated, he asked the customer to open their palm, and they add a drop of musk, or in English, musk, M-U-S-K. So it's a nice scent. And he told me that his grandfather told him, I want my customer to associate coming here with something nice. So this drop of this nice scent, it didn't cost me much, but again, it made my customer happy. So think of, okay, what are the expectations? What are, how can I exceed it a little bit? A little bit. Of course, this is a very good read in your book. A few things here. For example, speak with one voice. I worked with someone, and he was from the financial sector, the investment sector. And he was, I believe, dealing with loans or something like this. And he told me, he was a manager. He told me that I always allowed my employees to go to a certain limit, and I gave myself a higher limit. And when a customer comes to the employee and they ask for a little bit better terms or something, they will say, no, it's not in my hand. I will go. I cannot offer you this. So the customer asks to see the manager, and the manager comes and solves the problem. Or okay, I don't know. I was not comfortable when I was listening to this story, because I felt that they are not talking with the same voice. You want your team members to understand the project. When they speak to the vendors or the customers, they speak the same language. There's no different, discrepancy, because this will confuse the customer, and also they will show inconsistency. And lots of politics, internal politics. The other one, speak the language of the customer. For example, if we are dealing with a software, we use something we call user stories. The customer will not be able to use the same jargons or the same technical terminology that you might use or your team use. They will talk about their pain points. They will talk about their aspiration. They will talk about the problem they have. So they might use, we call it English-like language, just a plain language describing the problem. If you come and you confuse them with too much technical jargons, you might confuse them. Of course, this is different when you are dealing with subcontractors, for example. You want to make sure that they understand the technical specifications. So maybe the language here is highly technical. So again, you assess the situation. I will leave this part to you to read. Different project roles and different challenges and how you deal with this. It's a good read. The past 3 chapters in your book deal a lot with interpersonal skills and communication and relationships between you as a project manager and your team, and your suppliers, your stakeholders, how you will manage your team. And today we talked about how you will manage your subcontractors or your vendors. So any question? Any question? Okay, so please start reading your material. Don't wait until the last minute. When you are reading your material, whether you are reading the PowerPoint or from the book, open the files, test your knowledge, and see the questions, and see how you understand these questions. The questions are varying in the difficulty. Some questions are easy, some questions are intermediate, some questions are difficult, but not so difficult. I've read them. No, nothing that we did not cover. For your individual assignments, I remind you again, please try to finish it. And for your group assignments, some groups are very active and they sent me lots of outputs and deliverables that they created. Some groups I did not hear from you. So again,
ours is coming, Professor.
Excuse me?
Our project is coming.
Yes. Well, actually, I like these assignments because I try to simulate the actual world. And when you work with with your own hands, with a team in a safe environment, you will learn a lot. You will learn a lot.
Yes, I totally agree
So
with you. What we are doing here is it's applicable to our work, so it's
yes,
yeah.
yes. Okay, so thank you so much. And again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate. And please, please read your materials. Read the material. This is a good book. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
See you next week. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.